Hello and good morning. Today I would be talking about certain basics about critical appraisal of journal articles. As of today, there are about 30,000 medical journals. About 2 to 3 million articles are published annually. And if you take one subspecialty of pediatrics, that is neonatology, approximately 86,000 articles are published each year. Why do we read? One would be that we want to be update, we want to keep abreast with the knowledge that is coming. So we can do this by skimming the main journal articles and summary bulletins. But we might want to answer specific clinical questions. Then we have to find good quality literature on the subject and read it. Or we are pursuing a research interest. In that case, we have to do extensive literature searching so that we develop a good research question and protocol. Now, in any case, we have to identify literature to keep ourselves updated. And we can do this if we just want to keep our knowledge updated by asking a colleague, an expert, a librarian, and have a few select journals in our list and read them regularly. But if we want to answer clinical question, we want to do research, we have to search by formulating a clear research question in the PICO format, develop search strategy using keywords and Boolean operators to search appropriate databases like PubMed, Scopus, etc. Use specific mesh terms to refine our searches, and then we begin to evaluate our articles. Then we do what is called the critical appraisal. Now, why should we do critical appraisal? Because published research work is not always reliable, it is not always relevant, and to improve clinical effectiveness, we need a systematic framework to interpret research. Now, critical appraisal is assessment of evidence by systematically reviewing its relevance, validity, and results to specific questions, as written by Chalmers in 1998. The step one is read. You might read it once, twice, or nth time, and then in the n+1 time, you become ready to do critical appraisal. So while we are reading before critical appraisal, we have to see, is it of interest to me? Read the title, abstract, and the source. Then why was it done? We read the introduction. It should end with a clear statement of why it was done. What was done is by the method section. It should be brief, but it should be inclusive enough to give details so that one can judge the quality. And it must include who was studied, how they were recruited, and be an important guide to assess the quality of paper. Then, what did it find? The results. The data should be clear and not just statistics. Basic demography should be there. Are the aims as given in the introduction addressed in the results or not? Look for illogical sequences and statements of results and find flaws and inconsistencies. And what are the implications? You go back to the abstract and then to the discussion. The use of research, how far the results can be generalized. All authors tend to write and think that their work is more important than it is to rest of us. So, how new it is? What does it mean for healthcare? Is it relevant to my practice? Then, what else is of interest? After you've read the introduction and discussion, you see the references and see, are they useful? Think, are new important novel ideas there? Even if the results are discounted, does it mean that there's nothing of value? Try to find out what is of value and try to find further research gaps and questions. Then we do the critical appraisal, which is perhaps not an exact science, but we want to do it. And it does not give the right answer always, but we attempt to get the right answer. It's not simply a fault finding exercise, it identifies both strengths and weaknesses, even when the weaknesses as well as the strengths are not mentioned in the paper. So, the key steps in doing effective appraisal are: what are the results? Read it. Are the results valid and reliable? Assess it. How will these results be relevant to the patient? Look for internal validity or how well the work was done, and look for external validity. Can it be applied to my patient population? Now, validity measures what it means. Does it measure what it's supposed to measure? Reliability, does it yield results consistently? And reliability is a prerequisite for measurement of validity. Now, there could be random errors, unpredictable, uncontrolled variations in the experimental process. The results can fluctuate around the true value. Or systematic error, a consistent, repeated error in measurement that shifts all the results in the same direction. So, you see this, the arrows are all hitting on the outside of the bullseye. It's reliable because it's hitting the same place but not valid. This is neither valid nor reliable because arrows hit everywhere. This is valid and reliable because everything hits the bullseye. Now, this explains this random versus systematic error. The first figure, there's no error. All the results are in the bullseye. It is accurate, it is precise. In the second figure, it's around the bullseye, not in the center. It is accurate but not precise. And in the third, there's a systematic error because all the arrows are on the second ring outside the bullseye. It is not accurate, but it happens to be precise. Now, the error, as I told you, could be random. I explained to you it's around the true value, or it could be systematic, which could be a measurement error, or it could be a selection bias. Measurement bias could be random misclassification, or it could be non random. And in non random, an example would be that if you ask a question, have you had folic acid to women who have neural tube defect babies? There would be a recall bias if you asked 5 years down the line. And those who have had a neural tube defect baby are more likely to answer no. Now, then it could be observational bias and it could be non-random. If you use observations which are non-blinded, the persons who are non-blinded and who are favoring or disfavoring the results, you will get a observational bias, sometimes a measurement observational bias, which pushes the results to one direction systematically. Now, this is a schematic illustration of potential influence of random error and systematic error on a study outcome. Now, you see on the x-axis, on the y-axis is the random error, on the x-axis is the systematic error. Now, in the x-axis, if the systematic error is low, if on the y-axis the random error is low, you get a result which is precise estimate of the true correct answer. However, if the random error is high, even if there is no systematic error, the result is imprecise. If the random error is high and systematic error is also high, it is imprecise. If the random error is low, systematic error high, again the result becomes not precise. So you're trying to find all this in critical appraisal. You have to know the research methodology. You have to have information or a knowledge about the statistical tests and techniques. So first you have to see what are the study design. Is it appropriate for my question? Is it experimental or observational? Experimental would be a randomized trial. Observational would be cohort, case control, cross-sectional or case series. Depending on the question, your design should be appropriate for your question. And then you understand the hierarchy of evidence. So if it's a case report, if it is expert opinion, it is the lowest. The second highest is randomized trial. But sometimes a well conducted cohort study could give as good or better answers than a randomized trial, and a meta analysis and a systematic review of well conducted studies with low risk of bias will give you the strongest evidence. So, what are the key questions you should ask when you're doing critical appraisal? Is the study relevant? Does the study add anything new? What type of research question is being asked? Is the study design appropriate to the research question which I have? Did the study methods address the sources of bias? Was the study performed according to the original protocol or they changed the protocol? Did it test a stated hypothesis? Were the statistical analyses performed correctly? And do the data justify the conclusion which the authors have written? Now, how can we do critical appraisal? It is largely common sense, but the work is made much simple by using available simple checklists. There are different checklists depending on the different types of study design. Once you've concluded that the study design is appropriate for the question being asked, checklists help you focus on the important parts of the article. So you have the equator network where for each study design you have a checklist. You click download the checklist, study it, and then compare the publication against the checklist to see if you are getting correct answers, if you can identify weaknesses in the checklist. Now, in this situation, we have to see what is the research quality. Once we are doing critical appraisal, the research quality is judged by: is it credible? Is it done rigorously, consistently, coherently, and is it transparent? Is it contributory? Is it original? Is it relevant? Is it generalizable? Then, about its communicability. Can it be consumed by us? Is it accessible? And is it searchable? And then, is it conforming to the ethical standards? Is it sustainable? And is it aligned with the various networks, various policies and guidelines? Now, how can we develop critical appraisal skills? By participating in journal clubs, taking opportunities to review 4 journals and do good review, learn what top researchers are working on, see comments by other reviewers, and if it is an option, participate in grant reviews. Remember, you don't have to be a statistical wizard to do critical appraisal. So till now I was telling you how you do it traditionally. I think traditional is the best. You should go the traditional way, but it would be incomplete if I do not tell you that AI softwares are coming up. They are new. They cannot replace your conventional critical appraisal, but you should know about them. The AI tools are automated, create automated summaries. They do smart searches if you're doing a literature review, and they do visual mapping to help researchers find, organize, and synthesize information more efficiently. So, what are the AI tools for literature? One tool is Research Rabbit. It is free. You can use the Research Rabbit. It does smaller coverage than the Google Scholar, and it can be used by you. The second one is Lit Maps. The next one is Semantic Scholar. It is AI powered academic search engine with advanced filters. It What does it do? Relevant results and easy keyword refinement is done, and some niche topics that have fewer papers, there could be some limitations in finding them. The next one is our discovery. Now, I've shown you what it does, each one of them, why we should use it, what are the limitations and cost. These are just examples, and this is not a comprehensive list which is increasing day by day. Now, there are AI tools for critical appraisal like custom chat GPT, which evaluates studies based on specific appraisal criteria. That is Ottawa Newcastle scale, the GIDAD scale, the strobe, the consort, and identifies strengths and weaknesses. Then there is this rapid research article critical appraisal GPT provides interactive support for evaluating research articles, highlighting strengths and weaknesses based on dynamic appraisal framework. Then there is Appraisal AI, a quantitative tool for evaluating methodological rigor and reporting quality of studies on clinical AI. And there is a Inago Read, which provides high impact summaries on keywords and real time answer to questions. Now you can try them but rely on yourself always. So in the end, critical appraisal is ask a question, acquire information, critically appraise information, apply information, and assess. Thank you very much for your patient attention.